of the Cooperative Extension Program at Tennessee State University. And Dr. Lyles, before we had our break, you were telling us about your background and your education and some of the things that were important in your career leading you to the administrator of the Extension Cooperative Program at Tennessee State University. But let's talk about that program. Let's have you to give our audience some information about the Extension Program itself and where it fits into the overall effort on the part of the Department of Agriculture to deal with institutions like Tennessee State University.
Well, for it to have significance and make sense, we need to understand the three major things that brought about the formation of Tennessee State University. In 1862, the Morrill Act was passed by Congress, which basically said that we're going to set aside a certain amount of property in each state for the education of the disenfranchised. Each state in the country will have this property that they could do what they so will with, as long as it's for the education of the disenfranchised. And they specified in that legislature that it would be for agriculture and the mechanical arts. And most of the institutions, land-grant institutions, when it was first formed, carried the title of agricultural A&M. And you've heard that across the country. The second Morrill Act, because in the 17 southern states where the second Morrill Act applied to, set that additional property aside for the historical black institutions, and mainly because the blacks in those 17 southern states were not being included in the legislature that had created the 1862s. In the Midwest and the West and other parts of the country, that was not the case. So therein, in the 17 southern states, we have two land-grant institutions. So you need to understand the significance of why we have two, and why is it only in the southern states, 17 southern states. Actually, it's 14 southern states and 3 other states that are not considered part of the South: Delaware, Maryland, and Missouri, which would be considered part of the Midwest. Once we've understood and understand that, then the second part of that legislation that was passed is called the Hatch Act. They realized for professors to be effective in teaching, they had to have research being generated. The creation of new knowledge is basically what research is. So the Hatch Act created the agricultural experimentation or research part of the legislature. That came about. Now we've got the research being generated. We've got faculty out there teaching new students, but it's all being kept on campus. And Congress, in their wisdom, realized that we needed to get this information to where it would do the greatest amount of good to the people. So in 1914, the Cooperative Extension, which is commonly referred to as the Smith-Lieber Act, was introduced and passed, which created the Cooperative Extension Program. And that was so that we could get the information disseminated to the people where it was meant to serve. So we have 3 major federal pieces of legislature that create the land-grant institution. So the total part was not put together into 1914. It was all introduced as the need was saw and the work was done on that. So that, in their end, is the title of land-grant institution and where it come from. It was actually came from the people being given a partial